Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining regular meeting for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2020. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance with our flag that is still flying at half staff. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know, that picture was taken a while ago, but I do believe that the flag is still flying at half staff for our COVID victims. Yes?
Yeah, can you turn, I don't know, you can turn your speaker up? I can barely hear you.
I think you're going to actually have to turn up the volume on your end unless that's true for everybody. Is that true for everybody? If not, I would suggest you ask your lovely wife if she could help you turn up the volume.
She said that's as high as it'll go.
Can everybody else hear me okay? Can everybody
hear you?
Yeah? Okay, because see here, right here, this is my microphone. So
okay.
I can only talk into it. You know, that's about it. Okay. Could we please have the roll call?
Okay. Councilmember Feldman?
Present.
Councilmember Shaw?
Present.
Councilmember Meyer?
Present.
Councilmember Wiltshire?
Present.
Supervisor Levenberg?
Here I am. Okay, so we're going to start with some announcements. Today is primary day. It's finally arrived. I'm sure that you've all been waiting for it, seen all of the many signs that we see all around our town and villages. Hopefully everybody mailed in their ballots that they had received in the mail by yesterday or voted at a polling place early. Or if not, you still have time. You have until 9 p.m. tonight to get to your polling place. If you live in Ossining, that's one of two places, the Community Center at 95 Broadway or Roosevelt School at 190 Croton Avenue. If you do not remember or lost your postcard that you received from the Board of Elections, you can look up your address at pollingplaces.westchestergov.com to find your assigned poll. Thank you to everyone who participated in this tradition of democracy. Today was also a big day because Ossining and the rest of the Mid-Hudson region entered Phase 3 under the governor's reopening guidance. And yes, Mr. Wiltshire, that does mean that I can get these locks chopped now because I believe hair salons are open, as are tattoo parlors, nail salons, or I think the hair salons are in the last phase, but nail salons, now we're talking. Those are open, as well as limited capacity indoor seating at restaurants. There are also additional restrictions lifted with Phase 3 as it relates to parks, sports, municipal operations, and gatherings. And we are phasing slowly back into more full staff, although we're still trying to keep as many people working remotely as possible and phasing in and staggering shifts to the best extent that we can so that we can still keep effective social distancing inside as well as outside. So we don't have much of an update on the expanded town services. We are, however, gearing up to open our refurbished park comfort stations at Engel, Gerlach, and Ryder. There will be restrictions in place for those, single occupancy when they do open. We're also, and we do need some additional signage. We're getting ready to open our playgrounds, figuring out how we can safely open our spray park with the proper protocols in place. It's tricky. So believe me, we want to get it open as soon as everybody else wants it open, but we want to make sure that we are following all the instructions that have been sent to us from New York State. We are also hoping to avail ourselves of pavilion rentals soon so people can rent our pavilions. They're still restricted, I believe, to 25. The number was just increased from 10 to 25 for gatherings. As of today, we'll certainly continue to keep the public informed as we continue to open carefully. Masks are still a must-have item, and social distancing is still required, as I mentioned. Speaking of town services, please remember that next week, June 30th, is the filing date of the tentative assessment roll. Property owners who feel their assessment does not accurately reflect the value of their property as of July 1st, 2019, may file a grievance or appear before the Board of Assessment Review on Grievance Day. This year, that will be held on Tuesday, July 21st. It will be held via Zoom. No in-person meetings will be held. The assessor's office requests that grievances be sent via email to grievance@townofosney.com. More information about appearing before the Board of Assessment Review is available, and they're happy to help you in the assessor's office at 762-8274. Also, as a reminder, July 15th is an important deadline related to late payment of the 2020 town-county tax bill, which was due on April 30th. You might remember that pursuant to an executive order by Governor Cuomo, taxpayers who meet criteria set forth by the county executive for hardship relating to the COVID-19 pandemic are eligible for a full elimination of penalties for late payment as long as the property owner submits a hardship certification form with their payment to the tax receiver by July 15th. Additionally, the Westchester County Board of Legislators significantly reduced late payment of taxes for all taxpayers to 0.5% if paid by May 31st and 1% if paid between June 1st and July 15th. So even if you aren't availing yourself of that hardship clause, you can still pay by July 15th with very small penalties. As of July 16th, penalties will significantly increase to 5% and even further on August 1st to 7%. So if you have not yet paid your 2020 town-county bill, please get that payment with penalty or hardship form in by July 15th. I also believe that Village of Ossining taxes are coming due, and I understand that they have also extended their deadline, I think, by 21 days. So please be advised that that would have been July 15th, I believe, and that's 21 days after that. They are now due without penalty for that. And maybe, okay, hi, yep, Ms. Brannon.
Sorry, Dana.
Did I say the wrong date? Oh, July 31st, July 31st.
Right, but we need it in an executive order before we can actually do that, and we do not have that at this time. So
I see, okay.
That out.
Thank you for that. Okay, I take it back. So they're due by July 31st? July 31st, okay, for village taxes, yes.
Yep.
Okay, and can you pay those online now?
Yes.
And you can pay those online as well. Okay.
You can pay your water online too.
Water online too. Thank you, Ms. Brennan. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to mention is that we had also extended Grievance Day. We pushed that back, made that later, which is what all these dates that we're talking to you about now were all allowed by an executive order by the governor, allowed the town to extend and make those later so that you had more time to get to all of these things because of our situation. So let's see, we talked about 7%. If you've not yet paid your 2020 town county bill, please get the payment with penalty hardship form in by July 15th. More information and hardship certification form are available on the town's website right at the top of the homepage. The tax office is also happy to answer any of your questions, and they can be reached at 762-8790 or via email at hurlowitz@townofosning.com or taxreceiver@townofosning.com, either or. On last Friday, we observed Juneteenth, the historic holiday recognizing the day in 1865 when news of the end of the Civil War and emancipation reached enslaved persons in Texas. The Black Lives Matter movement and other related calls for social justice have highlighted the importance of this holiday. The town of Ossining joins with Governor Cuomo in calling for Juneteenth to be added as an official state holiday for years to come. I understand that this action should not be considered a solution to the issues of equity in our society. Nevertheless, tonight, I look forward to joining my fellow board members to officially recognize this as a town-wide holiday, which we did last Friday. Yesterday, we participated in another meeting of our Community Equity Task Force with goals of working together to recognize and eliminate institutionalized biases. The task force is a chance for community members, religious leaders, municipal officials, and leaders of local institutions to engage in conversations about inequity in our community. Our agenda this week focused on the history of racism ingrained in United States policy and code. We understand that for many Americans, exposure to this information is new and uncomfortable. The task force will be circulating a survey for public input later this month, we are hoping. If you're interested in joining the task force, please email me at dlevenberg@townofaustining.com. And I will say that we have had quite a few people take me up on that offer, and we're very appreciative of that. The next meeting will be scheduled for sometime in mid-July. I would also like to take a moment to remind everyone that if you have participated in any in-person protests, and we've had quite a few at our waterfront, forums, rallies, or marches, you can get a coronavirus test. Testing is free for everyone, whether or not you have insurance. So far, it does not appear that protests in New York have had an impact on the number of positive cases, which is great news. And it means that your efforts and ours to wear masks and socially distance have worked, so let's make sure that we keep it up. Unfortunately, we are starting to see other states and Puerto Rico struggle with the effects of coronavirus, who are maybe phasing in too quickly. So please reach out to your neighbors and friends to see if they are doing all right. It's not just our physical health being challenged right now. The New York State Office of Mental Health has a grief support hotline and emotional support hotline for anyone who needs to talk. For other important services, including that one, the town and village have collaborated on a resource document, which we share in our weekly email blasts and on social media. If you need a copy, contact us via my email at dlevenberg@townofaustining.com. And I will just remind you that we are continuing food service distribution in the village of Ossining. The place may be shifting as we start phasing services back in as of July 13th. I believe there will be more information coming soon, but it's probably, the distribution site is probably going to be moving from the community center and Market Square, I believe, to Star of Bethlehem. It's possible they'll still have the Market Square, but right now they have 3, which is one in the morning at the community center, one in the middle of the day. These are usually Tuesdays at Market Square, and then one in the late afternoon at Star of Bethlehem. Those are going to be shifting the distribution site to start at Star in the morning. So more to be continued as we phase back in other programs and services that take place at the community center. And we will have more information for you about that in the coming weeks. I once again want to remind everybody that you need to fill out your 2020 census if you haven't done so already. I'm hoping everybody on this screen has done so. Rob, Danielle, that means you. And if you haven't done so already, please do. We are at 64%, which means nearly 36% of our town remains uncounted. And for everyone that goes uncounted, we lose at least $2,500 every year for that person. So that is a lot of money. Leaving money on the table is not something we like to do here in Ossining. Please help us to get the money that we deserve for all of our many programs, to maintain our schools, our roads, social programs, you name it. The census is the sort of the bedrock that lays the foundation of how money gets distributed, and we need you to help us get that money out back into our hands, into our community. The census is also used to designate representatives in the House of Representatives, which we do have a primary for today. Check out our Facebook page for quick links to the census in different languages, as well as call-in numbers to complete the census by phone in your preferred language. I think we have about 48 more days until the census takers take to the doors and start knocking on doors, and none of us want those doorbells to ring at this moment in time, I don't think, with people who we don't know coming to our door and asking for stuff, even if it's just to participate in the census. So help us, help you, fill out the census, call, fill it out online, etc. I know I sound like a broken record, but that's because we still have 36% to go. So come on, people, let's go. I know we're all ramping up for the first few weeks of summer. I think we're already there with Independence Day coming up next week. As a reminder, we have decided to follow in the footsteps of our neighbors, the county, and many others, and we have canceled our annual Independence Day fireworks celebration for this year. We are so sad about that. We just cannot justify holding an event that would bring thousands of people in very tight quarters to the waterfront during this time. However, we're working on an alternative socially distant solution for the community to recognize and celebrate the holiday this year in a safe fashion. So stay tuned for an official announcement and some flyers. Village and Town will partner on that. And I think that's it for my general announcements. Do any of my board colleagues have any to add?
Hi. I just wanted to add a little bit about the Community Equity Task Force. On Monday, we really had a very powerful session. The presentation you did was really awesome. I've never done it that way before. It was very cool. I think it's an interesting group of people, and I encourage people who are interested to join. We have people who are born in Ossining. We have people who are new to Ossining. We have people from all different walks of life. So it's a really interesting place to have this kind of discussion at this time. So I'm really hopeful and encouraged by it. So I hope others will join, and I'm looking forward to see what we can do.
Thank you. That's fantastic. And anybody else? And I see we're joined by our receiver of taxes. Good evening, Ms. Berlowitz. Okay. Before we continue with our agenda, I did want to share a few. Is this me now, or am I going to Rob first? Am I starting now, Victoria? Did you want me to do this now, or am I waiting? I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now I can.
Can? Okay. I would say continue with your couple little announcements, and then we'll move to Rob.
Okay. She's the gatekeeper here.
Sorry, Rob.
At our meetings. Okay. So at last week's work session, we had announced that Councilwoman Feldman and I participated in an informative site visit with Ecogy Energy to see what their proposed canopy solar development was going to look like at Maryknoll. We had videotaped it and shared it with our board colleagues. We hope that Ecogy we had hoped that they were going to come back to this meeting, but it turns out that there was one outstanding item that the board had asked them to elaborate on before the application could be potentially referred to the planning board for secret review, and we really wanted them to have all their ducks in a row before we had them to our meeting. So the item that they had not finished with or submitted to us was a cursory zoning analysis of the proposed site. As soon as that's completed and they submit that, we will have them back, and we anticipate that will be happening, and they will be back with us for the July 14th meeting. So I cannot speak for the board, but I do think that this project has great potential for one of our first solar, tier 3 solar installations in the town. It's something that we had established a new code for a couple years ago. We had a proposal that was withdrawn recently that would have taken down a lot of trees. This one, maybe they take down one tree because it's going in a parking lot, and it is fantastic because it's actually going to provide cover for people who are parking at the same time as producing capturing solar energy that can then be used to go back into the grid, and is a community solar project. And we are hoping that they will be offering some of that community solar to us. I think they said that they would, first to residents in Ossining to participate in the program, also to Maryknoll. So it's kind of a win-win-win all around, in my opinion. We will hear from the board, and then it would go before the planning board for full review and secret. Secondly, after receiving 3 responses to the town's request for proposals for a planning firm for the comprehensive plan, the comprehensive plan steering committee interviewed the top candidate, which is WXY Studio, and I am pleased to announce that the committee is recommending to the board that we consider selecting this firm to work on this important project. The committee was extremely impressed with WXY's innovative approach to planning and design, and a rave review from the Village of Tarrytown on their work for Tarrytown's comprehensive plan sealed the deal. WXY's proposal also came within budget for our grant. We will now move into developing a contract, which can hopefully be put on for a resolution at our July 14th meeting. And so now just, do any of my board colleagues have any questions, comments, or concerns about either of these two items, the comprehensive plan selection of the planning firm or the EcoG project, solar project? Any questions? And hearing none. Now I have one more quick but extremely important order of business. Tonight we have our very own comptroller, Thomas Warren. Thomas Warren. He's going away. Wait, don't leave the screen, Mr. Warren. Who is here for a presentation on the 2019 audit. While we have him here, we do have some bittersweet news to share. Tom recently announced that he will be retiring from the village and therefore also the town of Ossining as of July 1st, which, as we know, is next week. Sheesh. Tom has worked as Village of Ossining Treasurer and Town of Ossining Comptroller since 2008, navigating us through some pretty uncertain times, always with a calm demeanor and a little humor too. We're going to miss Tom greatly. Tom will be joining his wife, Diane, cutest dog in the world, Hobie. I think cats are coming with you too. I just learned you had some cats. I didn't even know. In Arizona soon for what will hopefully be a well-deserved, restful chapter for their family. Tom, I know we are not in the same place right now, but we did prepare a proclamation for you upside down. And I'm going to hand it to you. Ooh, did you get it? Cute. Okay, we should have actually planned having two of them, so I could have handed it. You could have received it on the other end. Oh, you have one. You can pretend. Nice, but that one's not. Oh yeah, that was a good one too. So anyway, this one's like nice for actually hanging on your wall. So most notably, this proclamation proclaims next Monday, June 29th, will be Tom Warren Day in the town of Ossining. Thank you, Tom, for your many, many years of service to the town. And I just wanted to mention the one, of course, one of my favorite parts, which is that you have helped us navigate through some difficult financial terrain, through the Great Recession, start of the property tax cap era, continuation of it, and infinite shared services and IMAs, deals and projects, and many, many capital projects, and many, many bond resolutions, and many, did I say audits? How many audits? Maybe we can ask our friends at O'Connor Davies. Okay, in any case, we are very grateful, Mr. O'Connor. That was Lisa. Mr. Warren, we are very grateful for your years of service to the town, and I will be bringing this in tomorrow, and if you're there, I will be putting it on your desk, which is very clean right now, I know.
I will be there, so thank you so much. I really enjoyed the years that I spent there at 16 Croton Avenue with both the village and the town. I especially enjoyed the visits up to the third floor. That's where all the fun meetings were. And we had a lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of special projects. You didn't mention the bond ratings.
The bond, that's actually in here. I forgot about that. That is actually in here, of course. How could I forget that? Yes, so Tom has always been there at the ready to help keep us on the money, advising us on the more technical aspects of municipal finance, consolidating sewer districts, courts, police, working on bonds, audits, procurement policies, and more, even helping the town achieve a AA1 credit rating by Moody's Investor Service as recently as December 2019. Mm-hmm. That is in there. Okay. Memorialized. So don't forget that. Yes, that was very important.
Thank you. But you did a great job on that call. But I really want to recognize Dale for all the support. She really is the muscle behind all that's done for the town. So I want to thank you, Dale, for all that you've done to help me out and to help out the town. And I wish you good luck come July 1st in your new role as village treasurer and hopefully as town controller as well. So
that's right. I guess we're gonna have to appoint you, right? We have to add that to our July 14th Yes, we're going to be appointing you to town comptroller, and that actually was my next words. You kind of just took the words right out of my mouth, which was to recognize Tom for all his many years of service. Also to add that we're so pleased that the village has chosen to promote our very own deputy comptroller, Dale Brennan, to Tom's vacated position of comptroller. And Dale has been, in fact, Tom's right hand, sometimes right hand and his left hand, for quite some time. So we're confident that this will be a seamless transition. So congratulations as well to Dale. We're excited.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure. And, you know, we definitely have had a lot of fun times, as Tom said, on the third floor. But we'll continue those and just loop them in.
And we're transitioning, we're in the process of transitioning out of Munis and over to Edmonds. And Dale has been spearheading that effort. So I by all counts, everybody who's been getting trained says it seems like it's gonna just be the opposite of nightmare, which is what we had, our experience was with Munis. So we're looking forward to a change that will make everybody's lives easier, especially yours, Ms. Brennan. So looking forward to it. So congratulations to Tom. We wish you very, very well. And we are going to be hearing from you a little bit more tonight. So with that, we're going to move over to our presentation. And I'm going to ask Tom, would you like to introduce your friend from PKF, O'Connor Davies?
Certainly. For the last time, I'd like to introduce Rod Danielle. I believe you've been here for the entire time that I've been here. And we appreciate hearing from you every year to talk about the good things that are happening financially with the town. So here's Rod Danielle, partner with PKF O'Connor Davies.
All right. Well, thank you, Tom. I did prepare a PowerPoint, but you know, good evening and thank you for having me present the audit results for the town of Ossining for the fiscal year ended December 31st, 2019. Again, before I begin with numbers and things like that, I just wanted to thank the entire Ossining team for their assistance in the audit process, given the coronavirus pandemic. I think the audit went very well. It was very organized, very detail-oriented, given the circumstances. Also want a special thanks to Tom Warren and Dale Brennan for their professionalism and really being there and providing our team with information, even if it was during late evenings during the entire audit process. And I also want to acknowledge Tom Warren for his significant contributions, his assistance, his drive to assist the town for many, many years. His dedication, his drive, and his financial background will be deeply missed, but we wish him well in retirement. So if we turn to page 2 of the PowerPoint, there's a lot of information in the PowerPoint. I'm just going to hit on some of the larger areas, but I'm going to go through a summary overview of the audit process and our deliverables. I'll spend a little time in the general fund, as we did in the prior year, going through some 2019 results compared to your budget, as well as some history, a 3-year comparison of the activity, revenues, expenditures, fund balance, and some of the major revenues on the 3-year comparison. So we did that for the general fund. We'll do that for the Town Outside Villages Fund, which are basically the 2 large areas of the town. And then we'll close with some other considerations, some other funds that the town operates, some debt service requirements and things like that. And then a final page on the health of the town and some closing points. So if we turn to page 3 of the PowerPoint, again, our field work for the town audit was completed in April. There is some follow-up with attorneys and items of that nature. So we did complete the audit sometime late in May. Our audit report is actually dated June 3rd. Our deliverables include the independent auditor's report on the basic financial statements. We have issued what is termed an unmodified opinion. An unmodified opinion is the highest level of assurance that an entity can receive. And it basically states that the financial statements present fairly the financial position of the town at a point in time as of December 31st, 2019, in accordance with standards, what we call accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. Also included with the audit report is our required communications to you folks, to the board, to those charged with governance, along with our management letter. I'm happy to report that we did not identify control deficiencies that we consider to be material weaknesses or significant deficiencies concerning internal control. We did have one or maybe two comments, but nothing rose to that level. Also included as our deliverables, we do audit the town justice court and we issue a separate report. We did that early in the year, and that report was issued in March prior to the COVID, early March prior to the COVID pandemic. And then just the last item there, no recorded audit adjustments and no uncorrected audit adjustments. That means that there were no additional journal entries that we proposed, nor were there any journal entries that we passed on. So kudos to Tom and Dale for a job well done. If we turn to page 4, this is a high-level summary of your general fund 2019 budget to actual summary. Details can be found at the top there on page 63 to 69 in the actual audit document, which is well over 100 pages. So I try to condense the information. You'll see 4 columns here. You have your original budget, which is what the Board of Trustees approved back in December of 2018. So if we go down that first column, you can see that in the general fund, your total revenues aggregated a little over $5.5 million. Your expenditures were $5.1 million, representing excess of revenues over expenditures of $450,000. You did have some what we call other financing sources and uses transferred in and out to the various funds. The large item there is your transfers out, where you do have a debt service fund where you account for all your bond principal and interest payments. So the town general fund transferred out $434,000 of the $534,000 to the debt service fund for those requirements for 2019. And then the town also transferred $100,000 to the Dale Cemetery in the original budget. So you come down to that net change in fund balance, the bracketed $43,000, and that's what the town anticipating using of its own fund balance, of its own resources to balance the budget. The middle column is your final budget during the year. Things happen, decisions are made. You can see no changes in the total revenues, a slight decrease in total expenditures, but you can see in the transfers outline, you can see that almost doubled. The town did approve almost about $500,000 to transfer to the capital projects fund to continue with capital projects, specifically the town parks outside fitness equipment, which I believe was about $190,000 or so of that $500,000 transfer. When you go to the third column, that's your actual results for the year. So you can see your actual revenues came in about $245,000 less than your final budget, approximately a 4 to 4.5% shortfall. On the other hand, your expenditures came in under budget by approximately $280,000, roughly 5.5% savings. So you take your revenue, subtract your expenses, and you factor in your transfers out of just under $1 million. You did end the year with expenses or expenditures that exceeded revenues by $490,000. Again, if you back out the transfers to the capital projects fund, it was pretty much a break-even year, but you did do some capital projects without incurring additional borrowings to do that work. So you did have a net change in fund balance of $490,000. You subtract that from your opening fund balance of $3.3 million, and you end the year at $2.8 million. So that net change in fund balance, you anticipated using $519,000 to balance your budget. You did utilize $490,000. So all the way to the right, you did have an overall budgetary savings of just under $30,000. If we go to page 5, this is, I just mentioned you ended the year with a fund balance of $2.8 million, and I kind of did a 3-year comparison of your fund balance. And if we start at the bottom, you can see that in 2017, I'm at total fund balance, the last line there. In 2017, your total fund balance was $3.3 million. In 18, it was $3.3 million. And again, as I mentioned, you did do these capital projects, which brought down your fund balance by the $490,000 to $2.8 million. Again, that's your overall fund balance. It's broken down into, I would say, 3 buckets here, if you will. There's money set aside, what we call non-spendable fund balance for prepaid expenditures. The town does pay its retirement bills in December. The retirement system fiscal year end goes through March, so there's some prepaid items there. You do have what we call purchases on order or encumbrances, about $22,000, which are commitments that you made, although you haven't received the goods and services. You're utilizing 2019 budget for those items. And then your unassigned is the $2.7 million. We like to compare the unassigned to your 2020 adopted budget, which is a little over $5.6 million. And even though your fund balance did go down, you're still at 48%, which is extremely good news. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends that your unassigned fund balance should be roughly 2, maybe 3 months of normal general fund expenditures. And when you do the math, that calculates to roughly about $1.2 to $1.4 million. So you're well above, even double that amount from what the association suggests. If we go to page 6 very quickly, I took the unassigned fund balance that I just mentioned and compared it to the total expenses. And you can see in 2017, your unassigned fund balance was roughly around 55%. It actually climbed a little in 2018 to 58%, and it's down to 47, 48% in 19. But again, you did do those capital projects that I mentioned. Page 7. So how did you get there? This is a little more detail of the revenue side of the budget. What I just mentioned was the total, but you can see I break it down into maybe 10 categories here, but the significant areas I've highlighted 1 through 4 to the right. You can see your real property taxes fell short of the budget by $482,000. And that represents a change in the allowance for taxes, and anticipated tax collections were less than expected. So you did have some slow paying taxpayers. The standards allow us to recognize collections 60 days after year end, and then those that are not collected are deferred. So it doesn't mean you're not going to collect it. It's a timing issue, and hopefully those slow paying taxpayers have made those tax payments in 2020, and that'll hit your bottom line since this money is deferred and set aside and not realized in 2019. The other item there is your other tax items, and that represents interest and penalties on real property taxes. And you can see that generated about almost $74,000 more than you anticipated in your final budget. The next large item is your use of money and property, which is another fancy word for your interest earnings. And early in 2019, the interest rates were gradually increasing before the coronavirus hit. So in the case of the town, you more than tripled your interest earnings during 2019 from a budget of $51,300 to actually realizing almost $174,000. And then lastly, your state aid, which includes your mortgage tax revenues, those came in about $26,000 better than you anticipated. So overall, you did have a revenue shortfall, again, on the revenue side in comparison to your final budget. But still, you were able to manage your revenues and expenses and still provide for some capital projects. If we go to page 8, just very quickly, I took about 5 or 6 areas of your major revenues in the general fund and did a 3-year comparison. And you can see your real property taxes are pretty much consistent with 2018 at $3.2 million. You're well within the tax cap. In fact, the town has remained within the tax cap since it was enacted back in June of 2011. You did have an extraordinary item, if you will, a gain on sale of tax-acquired property that only occurred in 2017. That was a one-time event, but since I was showing a comparison, I included it here. Your interest and penalties on real property taxes, again, that's going to swing on an annual basis. Your 2019 saw levels that were reached in 2017. So again, as I mentioned, that's going to fluctuate based on timing. Your intergovernmental services, your clerk services, that's based on time spent with the detailed analysis, and that has dropped to about $30,000 as compared to 2018. Your fines and forfeited bail, those are your tickets that are issued, and that has been trending upwards since 2017, from about 150,000 to 172,000 in 2019. And then your mortgage tax revenues have seen some significant declines since 2017, and that's indicative of less home sales and or less refinancing that's occurring. Those are really the 5 or 6 areas. I included all other categories just to kind of tie into the actual numbers there. We go to page 9.
I just want to make a quick comment that our mortgage recording tax so far is looking really strong this year. I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of the year, but I think we're well beyond what we had anticipated for the first quarter, I think that's, or second, can't remember now. Second, third T. I don't know what else to tell me.
First half.
First half. I thought it was time out. Okay.
Yeah, I think what happened when the COVID hit, things were delayed. So it's not a matter of losing the mortgage revenue, it's timing. Everything got pushed. So you'll see a spike now that items will close, homes will be closed on, and things of that nature.
Okay.
So page 9, again, just some detail of your expenditures. I'm not going to really get into all the categories, but if you look all the way to the right, you had expenditure savings in all categories, just under $280,000 compared to your final budget. Most notably in the area of your general government support, as well as your employee benefits, your medical, your health and medical insurance. And that's roughly about 5.5% savings on the expenditure side. I did the same with your major expenditures. We took about 5 or 6 items. Your general government support, that includes the supervisor's office, the town justices, receiver of taxes, attorneys, and your clerk fees. And again, pretty much consistent over the 3-year period at $2.3 million. Your transportation support services, roughly about $415,000 or so. Again, pretty much consistent over the past 3 years. Your parks expense saw a slight decrease in 2019 as one position was eliminated. Your state retirement, the rates have not risen, which is, I guess, good news for the 2019 year. However, some of the reported salaries have declined, resulting in a decline in the state retirement. We do expect those rates to go up due to coronavirus and fluctuations in the stock market. Again, the state's fiscal year is March 31st, right when the outbreak occurred and the stock market really kind of crashed. So yet to be seen, but we do expect those, even though the stock market has rebounded somewhat, we do expect those rates to rise given that they're reporting as of March 31st. And then your hospital medical insurance saw a decrease, again, reduction in parks personnel, and then you did have some increased health insurance buyouts, which have led to a decline in those medical insurance costs. And then your transfers out, you do transfer to the debt service fund. That covers your principal and interest payments on all your outstanding debt, and that would be for 2019 only. Your capital projects, that's to fund capital projects. That's going to fluctuate based on the town's needs on an annual basis. You can see that you did a lot more work in 19 that you did in 18 as far as transfers. And your special purpose fund, you were funding the Dale Cemetery $100,000 over the past 3 years. If we turn to page 18, this is the Town Outside Villages Fund, 2019 budget to actual comparison. Kind of the same setup, the Town Outside Village Fund.
I'm sorry, Rob, I make sure I'm on the right page.
You're not. I think we were behind a slide.
Page 11.
Page 11, okay, hold on 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so the Town Outside Village, same setup, and again, you can see the original budget was for revenues $3.7 million. You actually realized almost $4.3 million, so having a favorable or positive variance of $517,000, a little over 13% of the budget. And the expenditure side also saw a savings of just under $190,000, $3.3 million versus a budget of $3.5 million. In this case, you also had some transfers, some other financing uses, but you did end the year with revenues that exceeded expenditures by almost $460,000. You're able to add that to your opening fund balance of $3.6 million. So you end the year at $4.1 million. Again, if you go to that third line item from the bottom, net change in fund balance, as I mentioned before, when the budget was developed, so you anticipated using $15,000 of your own fund balance to balance the budget. During the year, that was bumped up to almost $250,000. But you actually ended the year, the third column, your actual results, you actually generated a surplus. So that swing from anticipating using $248,000 to actually generating $459,000 represents a $707,000 budgetary savings. So the 10 Outside Villages Fund is doing extremely well. If we go to page 12, again, same setup as the general fund, a 3-year comparison. If you go to second line from the bottom, you can see that overall the fund balance in 2017 was a little over $3 million. In 2018, that increased to $3.5 million. And your unassigned or assigned fund balance in 2019 is just under $4 million. So again, very positive news on the TOV fund. Again, same comparison. We like to compare the assigned fund balance as a percentage of your total expenditures. Again, in 2017, that was roughly about 75% or so. 2018, that climbed to almost 100%, and it stands at 100% of the 2019 expenditures in 2019. Same setup on page 14. How did you get there? How did you generate the surplus? You had non-property taxes, which is your sales tax revenues, and that came in about $289,000 better than budget, from a budget of $700,000 to $989,000. Number 2 there, your departmental income, which includes your building inspection fees, your zoning fees, your planning board fees. That also exceeded the budget by just under $115,000. And as well here, you can see that your interest earnings exceeded the budget by almost $45,000. Page 15, we took about 5 or 6 of the major revenues and did a 3-year comparison. Again, your real property taxes pretty much in line, $2.6 to $2.7 million, well within the tax cap, slightly up in 2019, but within the tax levy limitation law. Your franchise fees, slight decrease in 2018, but that rebounded in 2019. Your non-property tax distribution from the county has been trending upwards since 2017, from $825,000 in 2017 to just under $1 million in 2019. Your departmental income, your permit fees, actually peaked in 2018 and has slowed a bit in 2019. But it's down about $70,000 or $80,000 or so. And your mortgage tax revenues declined significantly in 2018, but have increased in 2019. And as Dana mentioned, 2020 is looking promising, so that's good news. Page 16, again, we took the expenditure side in more detail. And all the way to the right, again, you can see that there were expenditure savings in all categories, just under $190,000, roughly about 5% of the budget. And you did have the most significant area there is savings in your employee benefits, your hospital and medical insurance. And we did, if you go to page 17, we took 5 or 6 of the major expenditures. And you can see general government support actually dropped a little bit, but if you dig deeper into 2018, there were some consulting services for a New York State DEC program that only occurred in 2018. If you back that out, it's pretty consistent at around $320,000 or so. Your police expenses have been trending upwards since 2017, and those are charges based on an intermunicipal agreement with the village. Your building inspection fees have gone up. The increase in 2019 was due to an unplanned purchase of a vehicle. If you back that out, you're pretty much consistent over the 3 years. Your intermunicipal agreement with the village is pretty much consistent over the 3 years, $350,000 to $360,000. Hospital medical insurance, pretty consistent as compared to 2018. When the town developed its budget in 19, it anticipated a substantial increase, and I think around 8% or so, that didn't really materialize. It was pretty much in line with 18, roughly around 3%. And then again, you have your transfers to the highway fund. That's going to be based on the town's needs on an annual basis. And your transfers to the debt service fund, those are based on actual 2019 debt service requirements. Page 18, very quickly, you do operate other funds. You do have a highway fund. The highway fund remains strong. It actually had revenues that exceeded expenditures by $129,000. So you're able to add that to your fund balance, where you end the year at just under $857,000 in fund balance. You do operate a variety of special districts that get aggregated into a special districts fund. And that's been trending positive, although in 2019, you almost had a break-even year. Your expenditures did exceed revenues by about $40,000. However, you still have pretty much a good fund balance at just under $873,000. You do have an active capital projects fund. There are currently over 34 active projects. The capital projects fund does show a slight deficit of $30,000, but the town does have short-term financing, what we call bond anticipation notes, to support those projects, roughly just under $1.5 million. And those bond anticipation notes are not recognized as revenue until you either convert them to permanent financing in the form of bonds, or you pay them down over a 5-year period. So that deficit will go away as those bonds are either paid down or converted to permanent financing. Page 19, I just added a slide to show your bonds, your debt service requirements, bonds only. You do have $3.8 million in bonds outstanding. If you look at the first bond, you can see that that bond, that'll go and then in increments of 5 years. And if we just focus on the 2020 year, you can see that your debt service requirements are between principal and interest are roughly about $438,000, and that declines over the next 3 years. But when we look at the 438 compared to your overall town funds, your debt service requirements are roughly about 3% of your overall appropriations in all funds. So very low debt service compared to the town as a whole. Page 20, just some other items that may not affect your budget process. We did implement a new standard in 2019. It was called fiduciary activities, and what that did is the town does operate at what we call an agency fund to segregate its deposits and any kind of employee payroll deductions. The new GASB said that if those revenues or assets are controlled by the town, they should be reported in a governmental fund. So those assets, along with the cash, were moved over to the funds that they're associated with. So no effect on the bottom line, it's just a reporting transaction. We do have to report your other post-employment benefits also in the financial statements. The liability that we report doesn't affect your budget process, but I'll talk about that in 1 second. For the OPEB, what we call the other post-employment benefits, there's no funding mechanism in place in New York State, so you can't set money aside to pay for these types of benefits. The town does hire an actuary. and he performs a calculation based on census data provided by the town. We do get that report, we review it, and that liability is a little over $19 million compared to about just under $15 million. So it's up well over $4 million. And these are expected payouts to retirees based on contracts that were in place with the town. So again, it's a reporting requirement. The only effect that this has on the town's budget process is the town does pay this on a pay-as-you-go basis. And roughly those annual contributions amount to a little over $500,000 on an annual basis. So we do have to report a liability of $19 million, but essentially over the past couple of years, the town has been contributing about $500,000 to cover those OPEB requirements. Lastly, also a reporting requirement that doesn't affect your budget process. New York State retirement system is pretty much well funded, but it's not funded at 100%. It's funded at 96.27%. So the state hires its own actuaries. They have their own audit, and they calculate every single municipality in New York State to come up with a proportionate share of that unfunded 3.7%. And so the town's proportionate share for that unfunded piece is about $750,000. We're required to report that in your financial statements, although you're not going to get a bill for this. It is a reporting requirement. And then lastly, on page 21, again, the town maintains an overall good financial health. And again, that can be credited to you folks, to the board, and to the administration. As I mentioned before, you have remained within the 2% tax cap, what's called the tax levy limitation law, ever since it was enacted in June of 2011. And you do have some cost-effective purchasing and strategic use of intermunicipal agreements with the village that have kept your appropriations down. And why is good financial health important? Again, it's going to assist you when you're formulating your tax levy to remain under the 2% tax cap. It's going to improve your cash flow and can impact your credit rating. In fact, as Dana mentioned, the town currently received an upgrade from a AA2 to a AA1 bond rating from Moody's. Moody's essentially said that the town's valuation growth, the town had strong reserves and it was highly liquid, and that generated the upgrade. Why is financial health important? Because it can fund unexpected or unbudgeted contingent expenditures or revenue shortfalls. And, due to the coronavirus pandemic, one can possibly expect some revenue shortfalls because pretty much we were closed down for 2 months or so. Again, why is financial health important? You were able to fund some capital projects. You didn't have to borrow for that. So again, you reduce your borrowings, which in fact reduce your interest cost. By having that available cash and healthy fund balance, I'm still there. All right. By having that fund balance, you are required to make the school districts whole as of April. So a lot of towns have to issue short-term financing to make the schools whole. In this case, the town hasn't had to do that, at least over the past 5 years, because they had the resources to make the schools whole by April. The next area there, as I mentioned before, we do have our communications. Again, I'm happy to report no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. And just lastly, there was a new pronouncement that would have possibly affected the town in 2020. It has to do with leases, but because of the pandemic, that was extended 18 months. So obviously that won't happen in 2020. We'll address it in 2021. So overall, a good financial year, and hope that things recover in 2020 to continue that good financial strength.
I would like to say thank you very much, Rob, but also thank you so much to your team as well as our team, which for the most part, I think was led by Dale Brennan, with some help in the back from Tom, I believe, and some other of your team. I think Liz was working on it, and some other of the finance team, as well as Victoria Caffarelli from our office, and our tax receiver, Holly Perlowitz, and a number of other department heads. So thanks everybody for all of the information that you were, and the data that you were able to feed to PKF O'Connor Davies auditors. I know that there were a couple of what I think were minor items in the management letter. I don't know, Dale, did you want to mention anything? I'm going to just give you an opportunity to talk about anything. The only thing I want to say is that, I mean, I'd like to talk a little bit before you say anything about that, you know, we did spend money on that playground equipment. And the reason that we chose to do so is because they were having like a fire sale of some equipment and we had some broken pieces that were we weren't expecting to at Engle Park, and we saw an opportunity to get these pieces at bargain basement prices, and decided that since we did have very healthy fund balance at the time, that we thought, and this was before the pandemic obviously, but we still thought we were leaving ourselves in a very good and very healthy situation with our fund balance. So we chose to spend the money on much needed equipment for our public, and we're hoping that we'll be able to open it very soon. We haven't had the big ribbon cutting yet. But I do think that the other things that were really in our favor, and again, thanks so much to Heads Up of Dale for being very conservative in our budgeting. The sales tax increase for the county, which went up 1% last year, we budgeted extremely conservatively for this year. So even though we know that that's going to have gone down a lot because of non-spending, obviously, during the pandemic, we think that we'll be covered. And we have had a robust tax collection, even though we've extended the ability to pay without penalty through July 15th if you had a hardship, and or very low penalties. I assume our penalty collection is going to go down. It's not a huge percentage, but I do anticipate that will go down for next year. So Dale, do you want to just make any other comments about anything that stood out for you this year or last or next year?
Well, we did do projections, for 2020 in response to the pandemic. So, we have some scenarios out there, but you guys have really put a lid on any spending that, is unnecessary, is not happening. So you're taking the proper steps. Holly's keeping up on where we are in collections, and just keeping the barometer going just to see what happens. So you're doing all you can do. But in terms of the audit, we had a great team. It was definitely interesting doing it virtual. Definitely,
yes,
a good new adventure. But I think it all came together with the help of many, and hopefully next year will be a more back to the norm.
Exactly. Are there any questions for my board colleagues, for Rob or for Dale?
Dana, could I add something?
Or for Tom? Yeah, I can't see you, so I lost track of all the people now. Maybe we could just stop sharing the screen and then I could see everybody again. Yay. Hi, Tom. Yes, please do.
I just wanted to add, when Rob was talking about why it's important for good financial health, the one big thing that wasn't mentioned is that taxes aren't collected until April. So the town needs to live off of its fund balance for January, February, and March, which is, a quarter of the year. So, that's a good reason to have a fund balance. And Dana, you're talking about using fund balance for a quick capital purchase. And that's exactly why sometimes you have good fund balance, is to allow for this type of thing. And even though there's a chart that showed that fund balance was heading downwards somewhat, Moody's doesn't, give dings for that. If you're using the fund balance for capital purposes and other one-time items, instead of just using it as a recurring revenue to help balance the budget. So it's all good news all around. So
it is. Thank you for that. And I'll just also point out that I believe our expenditures were down in both town outside as well as for our
Sure.
general fund. And I think, again, I just want to mention that we, again, at the beginning of the year, we try hard, even in the good years, which was, certainly 2019 was one of the better years. We try hard to store, penny pinch wherever we can, and, put the money back into what we need to and what we think are the, making a safe and healthy environment for all the people that live here. So that's, where we put the big bucks. And, we definitely did some paving last year in unincorporated, of course. And this year you'll see that we replaced street signs. And we also did last year, we replaced our, the guardrails that have been in sorry shape for a long time. And these are all safety related expenses. If you can't find a street and you're in a fire truck, that's not a good thing, even though we do have GPS, and we want to make sure that people can find their way to wherever they're going, whether it's the post office or other deliveries or emergency vehicles. So some of the expenses that we have actually expended are what we think are just making for a safer, healthier town. And again, cut back wherever we saw that we could have efficiencies, and looking carefully at the way that we could better utilize our staffing. So that's where we are. I thank you very much. And again, I'm just going to open it up to my board colleagues if anybody else has any questions, or I will also ask Holly Perlowitz, since she's here with us this evening, if she has any questions, you can also chime in.
Well, I want to thank Dale and Tom for their hard work. I know they work hard with Rob every year to make sure that everything is accounted, and it's not an easy job. And Victoria, I know you and Dana work very hard with that too, and I want to thank you all. And I'm proud that we're keeping everything together, and hopefully we'll be able to hold it together for the next few years with the challenges we'll be facing.
Any of the other board members want to say anything? I do also want to say that in talking with our assessor, it does look like sales are still trending in the right direction here in Westchester, here in Ossining. Even as bad as things are, they're worse elsewhere, and people are looking to get out of the city and come to the burbs. And as high as the taxes are that everybody complains about, in Ossining, there's still a lot of good deals. So you can find things available here in Ossining that you might not find in the next neighboring towns. We always have more work to do in that area, I think, but we have done some work in that direction in the past few years, and we'll continue to do that as we look at our comprehensive plan and looking to make sure that we have a good balance here for people who want to move here. So hopefully that will not be trending in the downward direction, that mortgage recording tax, but will continue in the upward direction. And we hope that sales tax will rebound too in the not too distant future. So any other last minute comments? Rob, do you want anything else you want to say? Tom, Dale, anybody?
I would like to say, I think you guys did a great job. Everybody. Thank you.
And that means a lot coming from Councilman Wiltshire, for sure, because he's seen a lot of these for a long time.
And if I don't get a chance to see you off, Tom, it's been a pleasure. I hope you come visit.
Yeah, he better.
Thank you. And I'm still going to be in the area for a few more months. I still have a task to do here at the house to empty it out and to put it on the market. And I've agreed to, help out Dale with anything that she needs. So I'll be here for the summer at least.
Okay.
Yay.
Awesome. Sounds great. So Rob, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming here to the town of Ossining via Zoom. And we hope we don't have to see you too much in the next year. We'll see you next year.
Thank you all.
Just for parties and things of that nature. Hopefully in the not too distant future, right?
Right.
Thanks again, Rob.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so next up, we have a departmental report, and I see there's a phone there, but I don't know if that's attached to a person. Do we have our clerk, Suzanne Donnelly, with us?
Yes, she's on the phone.
Oh, she's on the phone. Good. Okay. Well, in that case, fantastic, because Honorable Suzanne Donnelly is here to give us a departmental report from the town clerk, and she has truly been a gatekeeper for our building, both town and village, for the past few months. She's reporting to us tonight from Election Central at Town Village Hall, right in the middle of the primary. So thank you, Sue, so much for joining us, and please give us an update. Hey there.
I think she's muted.
Oh, Sue, you might be muted, or maybe can.
Okay.
Okay, there you are. Okay, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'm going to make a nice quick report because it's a 8:45 and the polls close at 9. We'll tell you at the bottom what's going on with that. Over the past 3 months, the clerk's office has been on the job. We have a constant flow of traffic coming. Okay, because we're both in the same room. That's part of the problem.
Wait, but no, but Martha's with hydrangea, and you're in just a phone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't have a camera on my.
Okay, keep going. Keep going.
Constant flow of traffic coming to the door every day with payments and information for every department in this building, town and village, and beyond. We are the distributors of gloves, masks, sanitizer, as well as DPW items to protect both our residents and our sanitation workers. As you can imagine, we have been through a lot with the increase of deaths during this unprecedented time, leaving us numb. The increase in marriage licenses, because the spring-summer season, as well as the pandemic, believe it or not, brings some light into our office. We are looking forward to the opening of the first floor because it will give the personnel in the clerk's office a better protection with our polyglass in place rather than answering the door all day long. If anybody's come here, they know you come to the side door, you come up the ramp, you tap on the door. We please request a tap and not a bang. It's time to move into the next phase. We are in the midst of installing and working with our Seamless Docs application so we can start encouraging folks to apply online for the many permits, license, and information they need for their everyday life. Special thanks goes to Martha, our deputy clerk, for taking the project on with such dedication. We are in the stage of testing credit card payments with the system, but in the meanwhile, we've done over 40 marriage licenses through Seamless Docs, as well as we've already started taking some municipal parking lots for the village in it. It has taken the marriage license procedure from a 20-minute drawn-out discussion to 5 minutes, and currently we are doing it as a car hop service. And for all the younger people in this world, a car hop is when people used to come out to your car and deliver something to you. So we do that constantly with these different marriage licenses. We are also working on our outstanding archive team who have achieved what I call the impossible, making this building lighter with the ability to access files easier. The town of Ossining took on an ambitious task for applying for, receiving a grant from New York State for the purpose of going through the files, determining what was needed to be saved and required to be saved, and setting up a new retention and disposal protocol as per the regulations of New York State. Much thanks to Victoria there for doing all the heavy lifting and getting the grant and taking the control of this project late last year. We have taken it off her hands as she has taken on her new position. Also, we continue to thank John and the maintenance crew for their unbelievable help of cleaning out what used to be the firing range at the operations center when it was an armory, and supervising the construction of state-of-the-art shelving systems, and for being there when we move very, very many files to the operations center. We have used this time during New York Pause to continue working on this ambitious project. The attic is at least 1,000 pounds lighter, and everybody on the third floor should appreciate it because it's their ceiling. And the old files that do not have to be retained are shredded or waiting for the next truck. Thanks to our industrious seasonal employees, Shannon Riley and Dana White, we have not only culled out all unnecessary files, but also organized our new digs over in the operations center. Today is primary day, and after 9 days of early voting and the ability to absentee voting, we have never seen such an enormous turnout as we have today. We want to take this opportunity to thank everyone who waited in line today in this hot weather. I think it was a learning experience for us all. You must be online by 9 p.m. in order to vote today. That doesn't mean voting will stop at 9 p.m. You have to be online by 9 p.m. We want to thank everybody for their patience, as I said before. It is an exciting time in the clerk's office, and together with Deputy Martha, who is clerking this meeting as we speak, we're very excited and moving forward. And now I must tally-ho over to one of the polling places to see if we can get any numbers whatsoever today. So thank you.
Awesome. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to see, Victoria, can you quickly give me a screen share because I can show the system. So you sent those pictures out.
Oh, yes.
And I think I can show, I have them up so I can do it. Okay, hold on a second. I can't get to my little Zoom. Hold on. There's a Zoom. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and see if I can find, there's picture one. Yeah, can you see that? That works. So yeah, so I think you can see what the filing system is, and it really is incredible. And in addition to thanking John Heitman and his crew for cleaning this area out, I saw a lot of very sweaty young men taking all the files down from the attic to get them either out to shredding or over to the operations center to actually get filed here. So it's quite incredible. I want to thank you and Martha and Daniela, who's hopefully going to be back tomorrow, for all the work that you've done during the pandemic, before the pandemic. And I think that you had certainly every intention to Clerk Donnelly to making this an online system to begin with. I don't necessarily think that you knew it was going to happen quite this quickly, but it's incredible. And thank you to you and Martha for getting things moving in the right direction. I think it's really just going to be, our public is going to continue to be so well served by the clerk's office, but making it much easier to do so without having to pay a visit, even though I'm sure that they all love to see you and you them.
Yep, it's been pretty exciting, and we did find our software package that we wanted just at the beginning, at the end of, must have been the end of January, early February. We did find it quite quickly. We did not think we would move anywhere as fast as we did to get this going. But the advantage was that they gave us a sample to run with, and that was our marriage license one. So it has carried us through this whole 3 months. But it's been a challenging month for everybody.
Yeah. In terms of you said that you're seeing a bigger turnout than ever. Is that just because there's so many people waiting online because we only have 2 polling sites, or are the numbers actually reflecting that we have more people?
Yep, everybody should remember that we have 30 polling districts. Normally, we are down to 2 polling places, and only 2 machines in each polling places. So the numbers might not reflect, but you know, we've had primaries before, and again, we have a very, very aggressive primary. We have a primary tonight for our congressperson. We have a primary tonight for our state senator, and we have a primary tonight for a judicial position. So, sorry. So
you still have 12 minutes left to vote.
I know. So they have 12 minutes left to vote, but we are seeing a tremendous turnout, and I'm hearing numbers in the 60,000 of people that have responded across Westchester, that is, across Westchester for the on the absentee ballot. So it's very interesting to see. We will not have numbers tonight because there's 3 different ways of voting, but we might have a little indication as to way it's going tonight. So.
Okay, and just remember, if you got an absentee ballot in the mail and you didn't send it back in, you still have 11 minutes to get to the polls. And you can
11
go on
minutes,
to,
and it might be a line, so understand that.
as long as you get there before 9 o'clock, you'll be
Right.
allowed to vote. Okay.
Right.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay,
So
we'll
much.
talk soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. So I think that's it for our reports. And now we're going to our liaison reports. Does anybody on the board have any liaison reports to share? No? Rec advisory? No? Fire? OBCC? No? Lions? Okay. All right. Senate, State Senate, anything worthy? No? Okay. All right. So moving on to our public comment on agenda items only. Is there anybody here that would like to make any comments on any of our agenda items? No? Okay. Hearing none, we are going to ask our deputy clerk, Martha Pisaka, to please take us through the board resolutions.
Okay, approval of minutes, regular meeting, June 9th, 2020. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the June 9th, 2020 minutes of the regular meeting as presented.
All those, I'm sorry, do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, any abstentions? I think we're good, right? Everybody's been around for all these meetings? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Approval of voucher detail report. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby approves the voucher detail report dated June 23rd, 2020 in the amount of $596,453.80.
Do I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Any questions? Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Okay, personnel promotion town justice court. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby promotes Fernanda Lilly provisionally to the position of full-time intermediate clerk, Spanish speaking, in the justice court at a prorated annual salary of $46,963 for 2020, effective July 6, 2020. And be it further resolved that a permanent appointment of Fernanda Lilly to the position of intermediate clerk, Spanish speaking, is subject to the approval of Westchester County Civil Service.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So we are very excited to be promoting Fernanda Lilly into a full-time position in our justice court. We were just getting ready to do this when everything broke loose. So we were not able to promote Fernanda again to that full-time position. But she had started with the town last fall in a part-time position, and she has been working so well in the court so that as we're ramping back up again with the court is getting back up to speed, and they are already very busy, even before being open to the public, playing catch up. We're very pleased to be able to appoint her into the position that was vacated by Anna Herena George in January. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Personnel resignation. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby accepts the resignation with regret of Dean Coretta from the position of part-time availability park attendant effective July 1st, 2020.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
So after many years, it is with great regret that we accept the resignation of Dean Coretta from his position as a park attendant. Dean has been a friendly face in our parks and in our office when he comes by to pick up his paycheck for quite some time, but he's ready to take a break from cleaning bathrooms and setting up pavilions for rentals for this summer. So thank you, Dean, and enjoy your mini retirement from this job. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Okay. Finance capital project number 2017-5207, Dale Cemetery site work and building rehabilitation. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining authorizes an increase of capital project 5207 Dale Cemetery site work and building rehabilitation for stonewall repointing, paving, and rehabilitation of the house and office at 104 Howell Street. The increase of $98,120 to the original project budget of $390,000 will be funded by transfer from Dale Cemetery fund balance for a total project budget of $488,120 to fund additional rehabilitation needs.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So the next few resolutions were discussed at length during last week's work session. First up, we have this budget adjustment for the Dale Cemetery Cottage Rehabilitation Project to reflect the actual bid prices for the rehab. We hope to get this project underway in August to finally secure the envelope of this historic structure with significant stucco, roof, electrical, and window repairs. And we hope we won't have to be talking about this building for many, many years to come, and it will be returned to its beauty. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Can I just say for the record that for these resolutions, E, F, G, the actual transfers are set forth in the resolution that are available on the town's website and in the clerk's.
Thank you.
Finance Capital Project 2020-5227, 2020 Sewer Lift Station Generators Town Highway. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining authorizes opening a 2020 capital project number 2019-5227 titled 2020 Sewer Lift Generators for the Town Highway Department with a project budget of $144,100 to replace generators that have surpassed their useful life and install new generators at assorted sewer lift stations. The project will be funded from bond anticipation note proceeds.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So, second.
So this resolution is to establish a capital project for generator replacements at 2 of our sewer lift stations. The ones that are being replaced have lived way past their useful lives. Later on this evening, we will have a resolution to set a public hearing on the financing for this project. Does anybody want to make any comments or have any questions? Either Tom or Dale, do you have anything to say about this? And hearing nothing. Anybody on the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Finance Capital Project number 2020-5226, 2020 Town of Austining Comprehensive Plan. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining authorizes opening a 2020 capital project number 2020-5226 entitled 2020 Town of Austining Comprehensive Plan to review and update the current plan, which was finalized in 2002, parts of which were most recently updated in 2015. The total project budget of $118,000 will be funded by state grant funds and transfers from appropriated fund balance from the town uncooperated and general fund.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So we are also looking to set up a capital project for the comprehensive plan as we move forward with the contract negotiations with WXY and have started to incur expenses on our planning consultant for this project. We need to establish a capital project for the expenses to track our match and reimbursable expenses under our grant. As a reminder, our investment of $25,000 will reap $280,000 in value from our grant reimbursements and in-kind services. So we are excited to launch that and really get into full swing on that very, very soon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Metro North short-term parking permit. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austining authorizes the supervisor to sign a short-term parking permit with Metro North Commuter Railroad Company for the use of parking spaces during the Earth Day Festival scheduled for September 26, 2020.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So just as a reminder, even though we don't know if this is actually going to happen this year, the last couple of years we have worked closely with Metro North because the Earth Day Festival has grown, and they found that it was much easier to navigate if they were able to shift the spacing around a little bit. So we've asked Metro North to shift the road from where it currently is to where there's a whole bunch of spaces up against the tracks and let the festival use some of the spaces that are closer to the grass. They have come forth and issued this permit without our even asking for the new date that was set with fingers crossed for September 26th. So if we are actually able to hold the Earth Day Festival, we can do so with that permit in place for those extra parking spaces. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Town of Austin closing of municipal offices in recognition of Juneteenth. Whereas Juneteenth is a day representing the ending of slavery in the United States, celebrated annually on June 19th and dating back to 1865. And whereas on June 17, 2020, Governor Cuomo issued Executive Order 204 declaring Juneteenth a holiday for New York State employees. And whereas the town board wishes to follow the governor's commendable lead and provide its employees with a paid day off on Juneteenth to commemorate such an important day in our nation's history, as we take this opportunity to reflect upon and rejoice in the freedom and civil rights that we all share as Americans. And now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby recognizes June 19, 2020 as Juneteenth, which shall be a holiday for all town employees who, if not required to work, shall be entitled to leave at full pay without charge to existing accruals, and for those employees who are required to work, they shall receive 1 day of compensatory time to be used by September 30th, 2020.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So, second.
So, as mentioned in my announcements and in the resolution, this past Friday was Juneteenth, a holiday that celebrates the news of the emancipation reaching enslaved persons in Texas, over 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. Following recent events across the country, there have been calls to celebrate Juneteenth, what some consider to be the true Independence Day for all Americans, and to recognize it as a national holiday. This year, Governor Cuomo took the step to make Juneteenth a paid holiday for state employees, indicating he would explore avenues to include Juneteenth as an official holiday in New York State. The town board has decided it would like to follow suit, and this past Friday was declared a paid holiday for town staff. This resolution affirms and memorializes this decision. Moving forward, we plan to begin conversations with our CSEA and Teamsters unit to add Juneteenth as a paid holiday for town employees. This is certainly not the only solution to dismantling systemic racism, but it is definitely a step, a first step, a step to recognizing that the experiences of Americans, and certainly of Black Americans, have not historically been equal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Of course not. Thank you so much, board, for passing this resolution.
Just a quick question for Christy. How much of the resolution do you want me to read for Jay? The entire thing or only sections?
I think given the subject matter, you should read the whole thing.
The whole thing? Okay. Okay, so calling for public hearing, the increase and improvement of facilities of consolidated sewer districts in the town of Austin in Westchester County, New York. Whereas the town board of the town of Austin in Westchester County, New York has under consideration an increase and improvement of the facilities of consolidated sewer district in the town of Austin in Westchester County, New York, consisting of the purchase of generators for installation at 2 of the sewage pumping stations, including costs incidental thereto, at a maximum estimated cost of $144,100. And whereas it is now desired to call a public hearing on the question of the increase and improvement of the facilities of the sewer district in the matter described above, and to hear all persons interested in the subject thereof, concerning the same in accordance with the provisions of
Martha, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Do you want me to start from the beginning or just?
No. Just start with that last whereas that you were in the middle of.
Okay. Whereas it is now desired to call a public hearing on the questions of increase and improvement of the facilities of the sewer district in the matter described above, and to hear all persons interested in the subject thereof, concerning the same, in accordance with the provisions of Section 202B of the Town Law. Now therefore, it is hereby ordered by the Town Board of the Town of Austin in Westchester County, New York as follows. Section 1. A public hearing will be conducted via video conferencing only in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1 dated March 12, 2020 on July 14, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time on the question of the increase and improvement of the facilities of the consolidated sewer district in the town of Austin in Westchester County, New York, in the manner described in the preambles hereof, and to hear all persons interested in the subject thereof concerning the same, and to take such action thereon as is required or authorized by law. Section 2, the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to cause a copy of the notice of public hearing hereinafter were provided to be published once in the official newspaper of the town, and also to cause a copy thereof to be posted on the signboard of the town. Such publication and posting to be made not less than 10 or no more than 20 days before the date designated for the hearing. The notice of public hearing shall be in substantially the following form. Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the town board of the town of Austin in Westchester County, New York will meet on July 14, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time for the purpose of conducting a public hearing via video conferencing only in accordance with the Governor's Executive Order 202.1 dated March 12, 2020 in relation to the proposed increase and improvement of the facilities of the Consolidated Sewer District and said town, consisting of the purchase of generators for installation at 2 of the sewage pumping stations, including costs incidental thereto, at a maximum estimated cost of $144,100. At said public hearing, said town board will hear all persons interested in the subject matter thereof. For help connecting to the video conferencing, you're instructed to call the town supervisor's office at 914-762-6001. Section 4, this order shall take effect immediately.
Do I have a motion?
Move.
Second. Thank you. So we're just closing the loop on some of our earlier resolutions. We're calling for the public hearing to borrow $144,100 to finance the cost of the much needed sewer generator replacements. Just so you know, these are custom designed generators that are specific to the needs of our pump stations, and they are replacing very old generators that have outlived by a lot their useful life. We're happy that they're still barely ticking, but having had some breakdowns in the past year with other generators and seeing what the out-of-pocket costs are to have round-the-clock replacement pump trucks, we know that this is a much-needed investment, and we know that borrowing for a 30-year life of a generator makes good financial sense. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Okay. Correspondence to be received and filed. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby accepts the following planning board minutes, June 3rd, 2020.
So
Motion?
moved.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay.
Monthly reports. Resolved that the town board of the town of Austin hereby accepts the following monthly report to the town of for the month of May 2020. Town supervisor's office.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? And we get to visitor recognition on any subject whatsoever. You have 4 minutes. Anybody? Ms. Perlowitz? You are the only person here from the public that is not on the board or working at this meeting. Oh, did you want to say something?
I was here to honor Tom and Dale, and that's why I was here. So
Visitor
that's
recognition,
that's
honor
my public
away.
comment.
Honor away.
Well, they're wonderful people, and I wish Tom a lot of luck, and I know Dale's going to do a great job, and they're wonderful to work with. So
Awesome. Anybody else from the town board want to add anything to that while we're adding the kudos?
We wish you well, Tom, and congrats, Dale.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Dale.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn to executive session for personnel, advice of counsel, and contracts.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So thanks so much for joining us. As a reminder, this is our last meeting for a couple of weeks. Next week happens to be a 5th Tuesday, and the following week would have been a work session, but we have canceled work sessions for the months of July and August. So we will be back for a legislative session on Tuesday, July 14th. We've made a couple of references to some things that are already going to be on the agenda. We will add any work session items to those meetings as needed. I think we already have one added for July 14th for EcoG. Please also note the town offices will be closed on Friday, July 13th, in observance of Independence Day. We will be back and ready to go Monday morning, July 6th. Stay tuned for a little more information. I'm going to give you a little secret. It looks like we're going to have a contest for who can decorate their houses the best in Town and Village of Ossining for Independence Day. And our Town and Village boards are going to be the judges, and we will have some recognition, first, second, and third place recognition for those that do the best job decking out their houses. So we hope that we'll have more information of that for you forthcoming. We will be back and ready to go Monday morning, July 6th. I hope everyone enjoys the first few weeks of summer and has a very happy Independence Day. And we're also planning to launch our concert series on July 3rd. So stay tuned for more information about that as well. The fun should kick off at 7 p.m. that evening. And we're going to encourage you to buy at some of our local restaurants, bring the food in, and watch a concert. So hopefully we'll have the lineup for you shortly. We will share that in the supervisor's updates, and we will still be here pushing out information. So stay tuned in your email and other ways we can get information to you. Have a wonderful night and a few weeks, everybody, and we'll see you soon. And thanks again, Tom, for all your hard work, and Dale, you're continuing more hard work. Have a great night, everybody.
Night.